So you're with Mark and Diane, Real Estate News and Views. And I saw a little thing on Instagram today, Mark, that I thought we needed to talk about, whereby they're saying that it's actually more affordable to buy a house right now, cheaper payments than last year.
Well, for sure. Rates have come down, right? Prices have come down somewhat, right? I'm saying that very loosely. I still think there's more room, but prices have come down in some areas and some, pockets and depending on the motivation of the seller. So that's a definitely advantageous to a buyer. But I will say that property match from buyer that's looking for that, it's a challenge. So I'll
Yeah,
leave.
well, what I noticed, so he said in Toronto, okay, let me just put on the old readers. In Toronto condo market, okay, this is a setup for what we're about to do here, people, is down. Okay, so the monthly cost of owning a Toronto condo is down 18% over the last year.
Right.
So he took the average price of the house
Mhm.
of a condo, the interest rates, the new monthly payments, and 20% down 25-year AM, which is normal, right?
Yeah, people can put it again, that percentage down depends on the individual. So would he did it for 20%? I'm
Well,
sure.
because if you go under 20, it's now it's an insured mortgage and there's a fee on top of that.
Right. Right. Okay.
So 20% there's not.
Okay.
So I saw that and I thought, I wonder if that's true in Barrie. What is the percentage and can it be applied here? And is it a lot cheaper?
Right.
So
Well,
you and I discussed it, and we discussed really the only way you can go apples to apples is get the exact same house on the exact same street. So we picked a newer subdivision where there was a lot of sales last year and this year, right? This is it here.
okay, before you go there, I'm going to jump in. And so definitely want the viewers to stick around to see the savings. And we're comparing apples to apples, but also hit the subscribe button for more information on the Barrie Simcoe real estate market and click the links in the beginning of the descriptions. We got one for home evaluation, and we got one for buyers that are potentially looking for homes in this area. And that goes straight to our inbox, and we will definitely reach out. Okay, so
Okay,
tell
so this is Apple Tree Lane,
okay,
newer subdivision in Barrie. This
where?
is just a street view. So these house numbers here mean nothing.
Where's the area? Give the audience a bit of
South
description.
End, South
Okay,
End of Barrie, near the GO station.
southeast then. Okay,
They're near Mapleview and Young area.
okay, all right,
And there was a whole bunch of these, right?
okay, and
Streets
in
and
that,
streets of them.
right there is, and in that area, there's lots of built up. There's lots of shopping, right? There's grocery stores, there's Shoppers Drug Marts, there's quick streets to Highway 400. So
Liquor
relatively
stores,
pretty
like,
good area. It's a pretty good neighborhood.
yeah, that's
Okay.
the neighborhood I'm living in now. Not right in here, but the south end,
Oh,
southeast.
okay.
So so what I did was I picked one that sold this year
Right.
and one that sold last year.
Okay.
Exact same model though.
All right.
And
So
that's the nice three bed, three bath between basically between 1299 and 1500 square feet.
okay.
And the nice thing about doing an apples to apples in this kind of area is they're exactly the same,
Right. Right.
right? Like, so it's very, very relevant.
Okay.
So this is what I found out.
All right.
The buying price in 2024 was 655,
Okay. That rate was different, right?
5.5.
Yeah. Okay.
And I verified this interest rate with
Yeah.
my mortgage guy, right?
Yeah.
And he said it was bang on.
Okay.
So the buying price was 655. The interest rate was 5.5.
Mhm.
With 20% down, the monthly payment was 3198
Okay.
with 25-year AM, which is normal, right?
Okay.
I should actually do this and put 25-year amortization.
And that's what the life of the mortgage is amortized over 25 years to get you that payment.
Right,
That's standard uh, insured mortgage through Canadian Mortgage Housing Corp or a couple other insurers, et cetera. Okay.
right. And my thing is, you need to pick a standard to be able to do this calculation
Correct. Correct.
because there are property taxes that go into your monthly payment amount. There
Yep.
are, when you first buy, there's land transfer taxes. That's a one-time fee. Like we're not and of course there's utility fees, Mark. Like we're not looking at that right now. We're just trying to see what your mortgage payment would be because every township, the taxes are way different. Like I was telling you this morning, Innisfil's cheaper than Barrie.
Mhm.
Essa is cheaper than Innisfil and Barrie, and
Mhm.
Springwater's cheaper than everybody.
Mhm.
Like, so you can't really add that in here because it depends on where you're buying. The taxes can be very, very different.
Yep. I got it.
So in 2024, that's what that unit sold for, and that what your payment would be.
Okay.
2025, exact same unit, sold for 625.
You could put something, let's talk about that right there then. So just to recap, 2024, 2025, that price dropped 4.58%.
Yes, and we're only at May.
Right. So when we look at those numbers, we are seeing some reductions. We aren't, and it's always hard to tell because we don't see apples to apples every day, right?
No,
We sit there and analyze, what did that property sell for in the street? We'd just be filling out numbers for 20 hours a day. So it was interesting to do this video to show. So in this example, prices dropped,
yes.
right?
And
So
and when you're doing resales that are 15, 20 years old, it's so much harder because each house has updates. Each house is
yeah,
is way different.
yeah,
Where right here, these are brand new, no one's ever lived in them, and they're
yeah,
all the same.
pretty much. Yes. Yep. Okay.
There's
Good.
really no difference. So, and just a note, I looked up right now, there's a couple there listed at 600 and 589.
Yeah. And we don't know too, you know what I mean? We saw them and we don't know, what the motivation is, what the strategy is. We're seeing realtors, list low, Diane, today without any brokerage remarks and go push it back on the buying agent goes, well, it's that price, but it's worth 625 any day of the week. So
Okay, so that yes, to that point, that's why I wanted to point this out. Because if somebody Googled apple tree lane right now, they'd see them, right? My
correct.
issue is there was one around the corner, same development, different street,
Mhm.
listed for 600. And it had been listed for 2, 3 months at that price mark.
Mhm.
So for 625.
Right. Right. So there we go. Very similar to what I just said about, well, it's worth 6.25. So make sure it comes in at 6.25.
Yeah.
Makes
So we,
the bidding wars information out of the listing that really buyers are just pissed about it. And
yes.
I think it impacts a viewing when they see that because they don't want to be bothered with that game anymore. So now
And
it's
my thing was, for the sake of our video, it only seemed fair to use the actual sold amount
for sure, for sure, for sure. No,
because
no.
we don't know what those other ones are going to end up selling for.
We have no idea.
No.
But so so if I'm owning that home, it got 16%, 4%, 4.58% reduction in price. Interest rate brought the monthly payment down by
So
16.
yeah, so now it's 625 buying this year.
Right.
Interest rate is 4.2. Your monthly payment is 2684.59, which happens to be
$514 savings.
$514.
It's a big amount. It's a big monthly amount
Well, it also is a big amount for qualification of a mortgage.
for sure. Yeah.
And it ends up being 16% decrease in your payment amount.
Right. No, that's a big number. When you see savings like that, for monthly mortgage payments, and on the other side, let's talk about rentals in the same, if someone's, and I get comments on my channel. I sold my house and I had one today. I sold my house in 2022. I bought gold and now I'm renting. Okay. If that was me, I was saying I sold in 2022 and I plan to be buying in 2025 because prices have come down and rates are making it more affordable. And, depending on the seller's motivation, there could be a deal there. Like there's all sorts of little tidbits of a little bit of information going on from, their motivation. Okay, they have to sell because they're coming up for renewal and they can't afford it. Or, oh, I lost there's job. It could be many. So there are some deals out there. So if that person doing that comment, they're still paying, maybe let's just call it $2,500 a month. That's going out the door.
Well, okay, between you and I, Mark, how much would it be to rent that full house with
You're
three bedrooms and three bath?
you're probably 24, 20. Let's go with 23 because I'm seeing, some inventory coming on the rental market between 23 and 25 is pretty accurate.
For the
That's
full
the
house
money.
with the garage? I was looking at that amount for an upper unit.
Yeah. That's
So,
what,
I mean, because I said to one, I'm gonna try to look here close just to see something. Because I said on one of my videos, I made a comment that it's actually cheaper to buy than rent. And it is. Because if you, now, of course, you need the down payment and all that kind of stuff. But why isn't it telling me to log out? I don't want to log out.
so was saying that too with that buy. I know I'm going to get some comments and some challenges going, yeah, but the market stinks. They could buy it cheaper later on. We don't know what later on is going to bring. So I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. We don't know. We don't know. We know that we're in a slowing economy. We know that if it starts slowing more and employment numbers tick up, there's lots of pieces to this puzzle that the feds will reduce rates. So the affordability will become, as affordability starts improving, buyers tend to come back. It's just
Yeah.
normal, right? As we see some, I get other questions from a call yesterday from a past client. His sister wants to buy a house, but she wants to wait 7 or 8 months. I said, well, it's hard to give me a call, but I think she should be actively looking, right? I'm not saying go out and buy tomorrow or saying right now is the greatest time, but I think they should get themselves familiar with what's being listed on the market at the price point. Get yourself educated a little bit, right? I think
Well,
that's important.
that's the thing because you and I, okay, here's for rent. Okay. I'm gonna look in that subdivision. It's this way, right?
Oh, you go back down this way. You're out 20 side road. So real estate's typically, as we've seen, big gains over years, many years. And sometimes it works that way and sometimes it doesn't. But, the life of real estate investing, it takes time. And we're in a market where it's not growing in appreciation, right? And yes, we've seen prices have come down. That's really not a true reflection of what's listed in the market, I believe. But on the ones we compare apple to apples, like we just did, yes, there is a lot of listings on the market. Buyers do have a lot of choice out there. And
They do.
if you find that right one that is motivated, you might have a deal. And you're not moving in 2 years, three
Okay,
years, four.
Mark, 2,600.
Yeah, 1,000 square feet, too much money.
And it's smaller square footage
Huh.
and it's one less bathroom.
Yeah, we're not far off the price, on some of them. And look at some of the other ones in there, right?
Oh, some of these are crazy. This is the rentals.
Yeah,
Like a lot of these, I'm trying to find like the newer builds.
2,500 in a shore.
25 and the other one was 33 right
Yeah,
beside it.
yeah.
You see what I mean? Like
Rents are
the
rent high.
the rent is high.
Yeah.
And if you can figure out somehow to get a down payment or,
That's the
I
hard part.
I know.
That's the hard part for that buyer today is faced with, right? If they're paying, and the stats are saying it takes 20 years for that person paying rent to save up for a down payment. It's 20 years. It's a lot of money. It's crazy amount of money.
I know.
Like it's tough for that young demographic to get in the market, and we're seeing parents helping out.
Well,
And
what we did, and I don't know, um, what we did when we bought our first house, and it was years and years and years ago, is that we got help from our my father-in-law and mother-in-law.
Mhm.
They were put on title as 1% owners.
Right.
So Dennis and I were, you know, 49 and 49 or whatever it was, right?
Mhm.
And then so we still got the full credit for land transfer tax, right? Because they are only 1% owners. So if you're already a homeowner, you don't get the credit. But because they're only 1%, you only lose 1% of the credit.
Right.
And then what we did was at the lawyer's office, when we closed the deal, we signed an agreement, all three of us, that when we sold the house, he would just get his down payment back,
Right. Right.
right? And then when we sold the house, it had gone up in value,
Mhm.
obviously,
Mhm.
and he got his money back.
Right.
And then we took that extra equity and bought another house.
Right. And it takes time to build that equity positions.
We were there, I think, 5 years.
Right. In this market, no one's building anything.
No.
Not even if you bought some of these new builds back in, well, most of them now 2021, you're really not there, right? You could be at par, maybe okay a bit, but no
Hmm.
one's making a ton of money in real estate. But that changes
Over the long term.
over the long term. You got to pay shelter. You got to live somewhere. You got to pay shelter costs somewhere, right?
Yes.
And you're paying on net dollars. Like that's 3,500 or 3 grand or 25. That's a lot of money. And usually it's for that individual paying that by themselves. They don't got much left over. Time to pay
No.
for the car payment, time to buy groceries, time to put the internet on, cell phone bill, whatever, whatever. There's not much left. So I don't know. It's a challenge, and you
Well,
know,
another recommendation I would make, and you've probably seen this too. Don't go into partnership with like a friend.
it usually doesn't work out. It doesn't
No.
work. It's tough.
All of a sudden one of them gets a boyfriend or one of them gets a girlfriend or something happens in their life and now they want out and you don't want out
Mhm.
or and now you can't buy them out. Um, I had a client, an ex-client that did it, and she says, Diane, you told me not to do it, and I did it anyway, and I should have listened to you because
Yeah,
now they're not friends.
that's
Like
right.
it ruined everything.
Yeah.
So I suggest your parents, because they're gonna love you and
Them a
work with.
partner. Make them a partner. Buy it with them.
That's what I did. Yeah.
Don't like they're probably boomers or whatever. The house could be paid off. Great way to help your kids. Make them a partner. Make them a business partner. That this is a business transaction.
Well, and make a contract.
You have to.
Like we had it all done with a lawyer and a contract. Like it wasn't like, oh, here, Diane, here's 30 grand. No, it didn't work like that. Like it was legally done
Yeah.
and everything was on paper.
Yeah.
And when the house sold, they got their money back.
Mhm.
Uh,
To that point, I heard stories with past clients and friends that have lent their kids the money for the down payment. They're all happy. They got their house and they're young, of course. And one gave, I think it was 150K. Oh, I'm going to pay it back over months. Okay, great, great, great. He got back like 25 or 30 grand or whatever. He was still out major, major money. Daughter sold the house and said, well, I need this to live basically. You're not getting it back.
mhm.
There you go to your point. Make it a contract. So everyone's on the same page what's going on. Protect yourself. And I told him, I said, you should protect yourself. like I know it's your kid and it may be a difficult conversation to have, but that's a lot of money. Or register a mortgage on it.
Well, what we did, because the mortgage registration and then is $700-800,
Worth it.
and then to discharge it again is another $700-800. You don't have to go through all of that if you have a contract between you signed with a lawyer.
Right, if it's done up in the right way, right? But not everybody does that. And like, in this person's situation never did that. He ain't getting the money. And his relationship is probably null and void with his daughter.
Yeah.
I
I
get it.
offered it. I wanted it on paper because if they are on title, they could come back later and say that they get more money than they should.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, how do you prove 5 or 10 years down the road that they haven't been giving you money every month toward the mortgage, or that you know what I mean? You don't know. So it
Mhm.
protects both parties
Oh, yeah, I agree.
to have it on paper, and they can even do it on their line of credit.
There,
And well, I know some people where the parents have like a $200,000 line of credit and gave them 30, 40,000 off their line of credit.
Mhm.
And then the kids gave them the interest every month on that line of credit as well.
Right.
But I mean, it's got to all be in writing, and it's a doable thing.
It's doable. It is. It's just, we're in a challenging market. We're in a really high cost of living today. Things are expensive. It's
You got to
tough.
figure out ways to do it, Mark.
You do. I'm not saying you don't. It's just tough. If you have help and support, that's great. Just a lot of people don't.
I know.
That's the problem. So not everybody goes pick up the phone of mom and dad and go, hey, can you mind lending me 20% down for a house I'd like to buy?
Well, the other no, the other thing is, um, I'll say this and we'll wrap it up because our time's going. As a new buyer, you only have to give 5% as long as you qualify for the mortgage. So
Yeah.
if say a townhouse is 600, you only need 30,000 down.
Hmm.
So if you qualify for that 570,000 mortgage, you, maybe your spouse, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, if the two of you qualify for that, you only need 30,000 to
Hmm.
put down. Now you're probably going to need 10 or 12,000 closing costs
Oh,
between lawyer fees and land transfers and all these things.
oh, yes. Oh, yes.
But it's not like you need a, 150,000 dollars.
No,
And
no.
believe me, Mark, before I got into real estate, it's funny. My oldest son said to me one time, after I'd been in real estate 2 or 3 years, he goes, Mom, isn't it funny how like we used to talk about like $20,000 or $1 million home, like it was a lot of money.
Yeah, it's not now.
It's,
Mm-mm.
when you're getting into this and you're doing it every day, we're throwing around numbers, Mark, like, oh, you only need $50,000,
I know.
like
Always
it's
easy.
nothing.
Like it's nothing. I know.
But we didn't come from people that, me and you both growing up didn't come from situations where people could just throw us 50 grand.
Oh, no, that didn't happen.
Mm-mm.
Okay. So remember, hit the subscribe button, get notified when we post some content. Okay.
Perfect.
See you.
See ya.